welcome back. Another edition of Surfcast Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed, following along wherever you are getting these. This is the beginnings of what will be another reoccurring segment on the podcast where we will be bringing you some new products, new to us anyways, new products to us, things that we are using right now that we want to bring to your attention that we think you will like. We think these are high quality products, things that might fill a void in your bag or in your kit, and some things that we really like. These are, sort of random, but not random. It's not everything we're using right now. It's not everything we're testing right now. But we want to give you a cross-section of some different product categories of things that we think you will like. Toby, what did I miss?
No, I think you hit it. Yeah, it's something we're going to work through. Again, for the most part, they're going to be recommendations, positives. I won't rule out the fact that if we come across something down the road that is a total stinker, we might pass you along as a warning. But fortunately, the things that we're hitting this week are all positives. And the timing actually works out pretty good because as everyone's out there watching on YouTube or listening to one of their podcasts, actually, as you probably get your first listen, I'm actually on my way down to Florida for ICAST 2024, where I will be all week. So hopefully I'm going to come back with some interesting items, some positives, some potential stuff for us to use in the surf. I wouldn't completely count on it because it's usually a crapshoot year to year. A lot of times it's stuff I find in other types of fishing, whether it's offshore or freshwater stuff that might work. But hopefully we'll find some surf-specific stuff like the stuff we have for you today.
And for those of you who don't know, ICAST is the biggest fishing tackle and trade show in the world. That's what it is. So
it's the annual gathering from everyone across the world down in Orlando, Florida. And it's where all the companies debut their newest, greatest, best, soon-to-be best, most greatest, super excellent stuff.
Yes. Yes, and so we don't know what will actually work out for the surf. Like Toby said, maybe we'll have an upcoming edition. We have some things. Maybe we won't, and you'll just have to tune in. But we're definitely going to be doing this on a regular basis. This, now that we're in the meat of the season, we felt like this was a great time to introduce this.
Yeah, all these things we've had time to, this isn't just open a product and, this is awesome. I mean, we've got some legit hours, sessions, time of actual use on all of these products so far this season.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll kick it off with the first product. I actually did a more extensive 15-minute long review of this first product in Surfcaster's Journal, which is in the free section. So if you want to go watch a really long version of what we're going to talk about today, minus all of Toby's excellent thoughts, you can go check it out. But the first product is the new Tsunami SaltX 2 surf rod. This is the new, completely top-to-bottom surf rod. It has nothing to do with the old SaltX. And specifically, we're talking about the 10'7" model, which is rated 3/4 ounces to 3 ounces. Just because it's the first thing I just thought of, because I just said it, the rating is ridiculous. I don't know where they came up with 3 ounces, but it can easily throw 5. It's certainly 4. I mean, there's certain plugs that I have, both plastic and wood, that are 5 ounces that you can lean into as hard as you want and bomb them to the frickin' horizon. They don't always want you to know that because they don't want you to go out and try to cast really heavy stuff and break it. That's what we've heard.
I think that's why they trimmed it down.
That's why they trimmed it down. But I've had no trouble casting even heavier stuff.
And it also is a marketing ploy. I'm sure they don't have a problem saying this. If you rate a rod too heavy,
people get afraid.
People are afraid of it and unwilling to try it. But this rod has an amazing range of what it can cast.
Yeah, because it has no trouble with half ounce either. No trouble. No trouble at all. And I'm the first one to say, my seminars and surf scenarios and all this stuff, I have no trouble throwing a sluggo, which isn't even an ounce, on a rod rated 3 to 8 ounces. I do it all the time because I need to have the upper range because of stuff that I'm throwing. So I'm not concerned about the lower range. I'm concerned about the higher range. But that being said, the SaltX actually does throw a half ounce very effectively. Half ounce, 3/4, very, very effectively. And something that's an ounce, no problem. So, and that's sort of jumping ahead. But I'll just give my brief thoughts about the rod really quickly before I throw it over to Toby. I got the rod early this spring. I basically fished it exclusively in the month of May. I fished it a lot in the month of June. I love it. It's of all the rods that have come out over the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. It's my favorite new rod. In that, when a rod has come out that has been new, this is the one that I've liked the most. If that makes sense. There's been other rods I have liked, but I didn't love. I would say that I genuinely love this rod. I want to use it, and really the reasons I want to use it is because it's extremely sensitive, and it casts like a rocket. And it's really light. And I never thought I cared about lightness, and I've gone on the record in other videos and stuff saying that, like, I don't care about light. I don't care about the light. I don't care about the light. I don't care about the way it casts. I just need it to be, it's a fish fighting tool, and I need to be able to cast the upper range. Well, I kind of have to eat all those words now because I'm having trouble going back to my other rods because I love fishing this rod so much. And it really is because the blank is excellent. The blank is really good. It's the same blank as the Forge rod, which is like, I don't remember how much it is, but it's like in the low 200s. And this rod is like 400, basically. Yeah. It's the same blank, but man, it's those freaking titanium Fuji RV guides. I cannot believe they make that much of a difference. I would never have believed it. I had to text Tommy, the PR guy, and say, you're full of crap. There's something different here. It cannot just be these freaking titaniums. And he was like, I promise. It's just, that's the only difference. The reel seat's the same. The grip is the same. It's unbelievable, and it's absolutely worth it. And before I kick it over to Toby, I will say we both tested out the Forged for a prototype, and I had my hands on that for a while. I had some decent fish, actually, with it. I loved that rod, and I was like, this is a fantastic value. This is a great rod. This might even be a little bit of a disruptor rod in terms of the market. Skip it. Go right to the SaltX. That's what I say. Right to the SaltX, save up your pennies, do it. That's what I say. Toby, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, absolutely. Last fall, we both demoed the same prototype. I think I had it for a short time, then handed it off to you for a short time, long enough to know what was going on, test it in different scenarios. And I mean, I loved it. It didn't have the final build specs on it, but it was close enough, especially being a rod builder, knowing the potential in it. And I mean, I agreed that I was like, when I heard that the blanks were the same between the two, I was like, I couldn't see a reason to go up.
There's no way, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm sure we had that conversation a few times. It was so good. And then I got my hands on the SaltX 2 this spring, and I was like, I can't see a reason to not bother with the better one because it's just that much better all around of a rod. Yes. And it's funny, as you're saying, like, I never cared about the weight of the rod. I never cared about cast, but I eat my words on that too, because I have no problem saying, and this is sort of the way I've described this is my favorite fishing surf rod, my favorite surf rod to fish, and I love throwing it all night long. It's got the range. I'm throwing a half-ounce head with a 9-inch sluggo, bombing it out just fine, and then I'm throwing a 4.5, 5-ounce metal lip with it, and it's handling both. It feels great under cast. The sensitivity is amazing. The one, because I can't be completely happy with anything, the only drawback I've had so far is being that it is only the 3/4, they call it a 3.5 rating. And I'm so used to my Lamiglass GSB 1321M, which is just an absolute beast of a rod.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that same reserve power. I think you put it best when we were talking about it last week, Jerry, that it's fine. I mean, I've landed fish over 30 pounds on it in some heavy current, some good conditions, and it was fine. But because I'm so used to the GSB 1321M, when a fish goes, there's always more. It's like there's almost always more power in the GSB. But I felt like maybe I was getting in the top range a couple of situations with this rod, but it didn't stop me from fishing it because I still landed the fish. I still, I didn't lose anything because of it. But in a positive along those lines, I know they're working on additional rods in the line because I tested a prototype canal design on this, which was, I don't even remember, like crazy rating on this thing. But I after I tested, I actually said, if I ever fish the canal with any consistency, I can't understand why I would go with anything but this rod. And then they're also looking at one sort of in between this 3/4 to 3.5 rating and that monster beef meat stick of the canal. So there's stuff coming down the road, which, I mean, if that was to hit, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't deliver on it, that could knock my GSB 13101M completely out of rotation.
Yeah, so that's, I was just going to say this. You just got right to it, actually. We want to make it clear for both of us, this is not replacing our GSBs. It's not. I was just last night and the night before using my 121M. There's no way that SaltX is a replacement for the 1321 when you're in Montauk in heavy wind fighting fish over 25 pounds, or if you're trying to horse fish in heavy current with rocky structure. It's not. It's not going to replace your 1321. I don't think it replaces my 121M old school either. That's rated to like 7. They just have that extra bit of oomph, that extra, as I say, horsepower. I use that a lot. They have more horsepower. When you push them, it feels like they don't tap out unless you're on like a giant. Unless you're in like a shark or something.
Yeah, like the shark that I hooked a couple years ago when you were with me, and I was like, this thing can't handle this. That's the only time it's ever happened.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're really into, especially the 1321. So we're definitely not saying that. But for most of you who are only running into a few of those fish a season, don't fish those situations. I mean, look, if you're on the sand anywhere with any conditions, wind, ripping current, but if you're on the sand and there's no rocks, it's fine. There are no fish big enough.
This is hands down my sand beach rod going forward now. It was a dream.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the next product because we've already spent a lot of time on this. But I will say one more thing. I feel like we're not even really doing the rod justice. Seriously, it's really that good. It sounds like we're, fanboy fawning, but it really is that good. And I love my GSBs, and I've liked other rods too. I mean, Toby loves his GSBs. It's really been his love. But I've had really good luck with some ODM rods. I've had some really good luck with St. Croix rods. This is other Tsunami products, I should say. This is really a special rod. I really do think it is. And I will say this in my closing statement. I handed it to my friend who fishes the sand beaches. He held it and went, holy crap, I've never seen a surf rod like this. He immediately went and bought it, and he said, I've never cast a rod like this. It's unbelievable. My other friend who fishes with us held his rod and went, holy crap, and he went and got one, and now we all fish them. And they were using a couple of ODM products and a couple of Lamiglass products. And all great rods, but they've all switched. So, again, it's not the do-all, be-all rod, but, man, it is just such a high-quality product. We love it. It's really, really good. Really works for us, I think. I'm speaking for you, but yeah, it really, really works. I'll introduce the next product. Been really excited about these. I played with them a little bit, and I already reviewed them in SJ, but I've since used them a lot more. It's the new line of hooks from Mustad, their Alpha Point line. They got a whole bunch of different hooks within that. I'm a big hook nerd. I know all the numbers, and I use them all kinds of different stuff. I'm switching hooks on different by plug and all this stuff. And always looking for the next greatest thing. And I have to say, these Mustad Alpha Points, no matter what it is, because they've got a whole bunch of different ones, are all really, really good so far. I've really, really been happy. But there's three things I want to bring up specifically. The first and the most exciting for me is the Assault Heavy Wide Gap swim bait hook. It's very thick, definitely comparable to BKK, which I absolutely love. All their Titan Rider and Titan Diver stuff, love. It's at least that thick. They're smaller, so even in the same size, they're a little smaller. They do not have as big of a gap. But the shape of them may be even better than the BKK. And the shape of the hook lends itself, or can lend itself to strength as much as the thickness of the wire. Let me say that again. The shape of the hook might be as important as the thickness of the hook. If you have a round bend to a hook, it can deflect easier, but it doesn't bend out as easily. If you have a 90-degree angles, it doesn't deflect as easily, but it can bend out. These are very 90-degree angle, which I prefer in this kind of setup. So the 8.0 Assault Heavy Wide Gap works excellent with a 9-inch. I've used the 7.0 as well. It's a little small. The 8.0 works great. Then, you can trickle down from there. They're not really big enough for like a 12. But, Hoagie products, Gravity products, the Gags probably not. There's some other, why am I trying to think of the, Game On, their product, they work, the smaller ones that work for that. Really, really like it. The Jaw Lock treble I've also begun using as well. And I'm really impressed with how thin it is for how strong it is. And I do all my informal testing. So I'm not like hooking it up to a scale necessarily, but I get them and immediately try to bend them. And I'm impressed with how thin and light they are, how strong they are. And this is really advantageous if you want to use a plug that's been designed for something like a VMC 9626 or a thinner hook like that, or comes with a stock piece of garbage hook. If you want it to act the same, aka all you guys listening about the SP Minnow, you like the way it swims with the stock stuff, the Jaw Lock would be an excellent replacement for that. They run a size large. So I've been using 2.0s and 3.0s instead of 3.0s and 4.0s. Does that make sense? So I bought 2.0s and 3.0s of the Jaw Locks. And then the final thing, and I'll leave it at this because I know, Toby, you don't have as much experience, but you have a couple of things to say. They have a pitch and hook. Flip and hook? Which is it, Toby? I can't remember. Flip and hook, I think it's called.
Flipping.
It's called flip and hook.
Yeah, it's like the heavy cover flip and hook.
That's right. It's called the flip and hook. And this makes an excellent, excellent, excellent replacement for the Red Gill teaser. And I think I'm actually going to do a video for that in SJ, so you can look for that in the future. But hopefully that'll actually happen.
It's got the little reverse plastic barb.
It's got the little reverse plastic barb on it, and the size and the shape and everything really, really works well when you match it up with that. So that's another recommendation for sure.
Yeah, I haven't had as much time in the water with these yet. I saw them first at last year's iCast, which was, I believe, when Mustad debuted the entire series. Everything I saw back then was impressive. I remember, I still have them on my phone, taking some pictures. They had the product samples on the shelves, and some of these swim bait hooks, sending you photos of them. Was right. Probably the first time I saw them, and I remember you immediately saying, need
yeah, take my money is what I think I said. Yeah.
And I mean, I saw the potential absolutely with you throwing more of, generally throwing more 9-inch sluggo type stuff. You jumped on it faster than I was, because for my purpose I need the bigger, which is why I still throwing the BKKs primarily on the bigger stuff. But for my 9-inch sluggo and 7-inch sluggo work, I mean, I'm absolutely going to be getting these things, because you gave me, was it the 7.0 size?
That was the 7.0.
7.0.
In a Magnum,
and I was impressed.
Yeah, and that was in a Magnum Zoom Super Fluke.
Yeah,
so
and I mean,
that gives you
look at the thing. I don't throw that size for targeting big fish a lot, but when I do, I guess part of it because I didn't have the hook that I felt confident. But seeing, I'm like, okay, I would have no problem whatsoever throwing this, on the sand beaches when I'm trying to replicate big sand eels, or if I was to, next trip for tarpons, things like that. I mean, I see it as a straight up potential, is some positive.
And I really like, you might be asking yourself, well, BKK is so good, why even bother? I think for the same size in a 9-inch or 7-inch, especially, but a 9-inch, I like to not have as much gap. I like to have actually a little bit less bend. And I think this helps with the way the sluggo swims the way that I want it to swim. And so for me, this really felt like a no-brainer. Because I felt like once you get down to like an 8.0 BKK, they actually start to get thinner, but they still have a big wide circle. And the VMC made an excellent hook they don't make anymore. There was also an 8.0, which was good, but that also had a big wide bend on it. And I like that the Alpha Point almost tucks up a little bit more. No trouble hooking fish. No trouble. My friend has been using them too. No trouble. You're not missing fish because of the smaller gap. So that's what I will say.
The next product that we're going to talk about is actually something I've been using for a few seasons. And I believe I finally talked you into making
finally talked me into it.
Made you a believer.
Yep.
It is the Yo-Zuri hydrominnow LC. LC for long cast. Primarily the 6 3/4 inch. They also make a 6-inch, which I've thrown quite a bit in certain scenarios. But the 6 3/4, it comes in at like 1 3/4 ounce. It's got weight transfer. It basically, if the best way for me to describe it is that it has essentially replaced the redfin in my surf bag, which is a
moment of silence for that. Yeah, right. Like let's take a break. Like let's hit the pause button. for a second, because that's pretty serious.
But it's to describe, if somebody, whenever I get somebody talking about recommending a plastic swimmer, I want to know where it's going to fit in with stuff that I'm already accustomed to.
That's right.
And the swap in my mind with this is the Redfin. On what I like too, though, is that it replaces both the loaded and unloaded. Now, I haven't really swum it on the surface, waked it like you can an unloaded Redfin, but it dives. I mean, I think they list it as diving 1 to 3 feet, and that's probably the top end of where you're getting it down, is to that 3 foot range.
Yeah,
but
it's optimistic.
The way that weight transfer system is on it, you can punch that thing into a headwind. If you got a tailwind, I mean, the thing smokes out there like a needlefish. It casts so well. It's through wired, and I've landed some very good fish consistently on it, to the point now, like I said, where if it was a spot that I used to jump to the Redfin, I'm grabbing this first without hesitation, to the point where the only reason the Redfin goes in my bag is for like nostalgia. That's why that goes in, and it's become that productive, and I become that confident in it. And I don't think it's quite gotten I don't think it's getting the love that it should be yet for some reason.
Yeah, and I will say, so it was last year, we were into really good fish, and I got you to come out with me, and I was catching a lot on sluggos and needles, and darters, and we got a little separated, and we met back up, and you were like, well, I just had a 47-inch fish, and I went, what? I think I already told this story when Jimmy was on, but
yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I got a hydrominnow. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. What are you talking about? Because Toby and I are always kind of joking on the plastic swimmers, because, that's what a lot of guys, that's the only thing they throw. They become like robots. And you did, and even then I didn't buy one. I didn't even have one. I was like, okay, whatever. And I had it on the rod. I know, because I was still throwing it. Yeah, we're still throwing it, and we were bouncing they were bouncing off the backs of the fish. There were so many fish. We were snagging them and stuff. That was wild. That was wild. Boy, nostalgia already for last year. But anyways.
Yeah, right. I was just thinking that.
Yeah. 1 year, we're already like, waxing about, the days gone by. Anyways. You convinced, but I bought one, and I instantly saw the difference. Because the thing is, it looks like an SP Minnow, it looks like a Colt Sniper, but it runs so shallow. And so if you're someone who's fishing a shallow sand beach or shallow beach anywhere, boulders, whatever, you now have an effective tool like the Redfin that casts as well as the SP Minnow and the Colt Sniper. Maybe not quite as good as casting as the Colt Sniper. I think that's probably the best one. And I'm a big Colt Sniper fan. But this runs way shallower. So you can crawl it across a sandbar or a shallow flat or whatever. And I've really seen. In fact, because you and I don't use rear hooks, I have counterweights and stuff that I do. I had to back off on the weight I was putting in the back because I couldn't even get it to dive at all, because I would put too much on the back. And I did not put very much on the back. And I put one of those alpha points on it on the front, and they're pretty light hook, actually, in a 2.0. And I couldn't even really it was just waking on the surface. So really fantastic product. High premium product. They really are very nice. So they're a little more expensive, but they're premium.
But they're not. But still, I mean, they're still in the teens.
They're more than an SP Minnow. They're more than an SP Minnow. Is really what I meant.
Yeah,
that's really what I meant.
And it's funny, like you said, they look real similar to the others, and at first glance, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, this thing's going to be so much shallower of a swimmer or what have you." But it really is. It fits a niche in the arsenal that. Yes. I mean, when I go to, like I said, if Redfin was going to be in there in the past, that's what's going in. It's gotten to that level of preference for me.
Yeah, I can't believe it's. I mean, I'm not going to say it's replacing, but I can't believe that I need it over this Colt Sniper. I really looked at them and went, "There's no way that these are really." They're like the same exact size. They got the same exact profile. I really like that the Colt Sniper is quiet. It doesn't have any rattles in it. But I'm telling you, I've started carrying that Yo-Zuri. It's definitely doesn't get enough play. For sure. What's up next, Toby?
So the last thing we're going to touch upon today is a pair of waders.
Oh, that's right.
Now they actually came out last year, if I'm not mistaken, but I just started fishing this year. The Grundens Boundary GORE-TEX stocking foot waders. These are in the not quite ultra premium wader category, but definitely in the premium category with the GORE-TEX material used on them. And I've used them in freshwater. I've used them in the salt, in the surf, warm conditions, cooler nights, and they're probably the second pair of waders now that I've ever owned that I actually said I enjoyed wearing, meaning they were comfortable. Could wear them all night. They're durable. I mean, granted, it's only roughly here half a season deep, but so far there's been no problem with durability. I went a little larger than my previous pair to give me a little more breathability at times, a little more air circulation, but they fit extremely comfortably. They don't have that gap goofiness sometimes you get in the legs, in the crotch with waders. You can get in and out of your vehicle if you're changing spots. When I've ridden on my bike, it's been no problem. Lifting the leg over, it's very comfortable. Walked miles in them and been fine. They've got some interesting, being that Grundens comes from they have the outerwear that we're all familiar with, the tops, the bibs, they have the footwear side. They incorporated kind of both of those sides into this, where they've got special articulation in the feet. The booties are crazy comfortable. And they did something kind of interesting with the cuff on the bottom, the gaiter, okay, on the feet. There's no latch, there's no hook on them. Traditionally there's like my Sims, for instance, has a little metal latch, and you catch it into the eyelets of your laces, and it holds it most of the time. Sometimes it pops out, sometimes it doesn't matter. These went without that, and it's just like a rubber band, bungee inside that holds them on, and they actually stay put. Like, I was kind of nervous at first, thinking, I was fishing a sand beach recently. I figured I'm going to be hitting the waves, and that's sort of the test if your
that's right,
cuffs are going to stay on. When that wave hits and shoots up, they pop up, they fill with sand, and these held. They did a great job. I didn't fill up with sand in the boots by any means, and they're just all around comfortable waders. Even the shoulder straps that they have on them are a different design. They're kind of a wider. That's one of the things I've had issues with over the years, is the shoulders start to burrow into your, like the straps burrow into your shoulders after a long night, and it's kind of pulling funny. They're very comfortable in that regard. It disperses the weight. So again, they're on the premium wader category. They're pricey, but they've been worth every penny of it so far this season. I have had no problem recommending them to some other guys looking for waders.
Yeah, waders are expensive now. It feels like there's a big gap. There's like nothing in the moderate price range. It's like there's junk, and then there's really nice, and then it's like what happened to the middle range ones? So I've seen a lot of good things about these, and they definitely we could use a little competition, because there are only a couple of manufacturers, maybe 3 or 4, that really make well-known waders. We could use another one, and they have a great reputation, that brand, of making quality products across the spectrum of what they make. So
when I'm on the boat, I feel like I'm a walking Grundens ad. I got the shoes, I got the bib pants, I got the coat, all the gear on, sweatshirts at times. So.
I noticed when we were on the boat, all 3 of us had the Grundens boots on. So yeah. They make great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to have another player in that high end. If nothing else, it pushes the competition. It keeps check on the pricing. It produces more product development. So I think it's only going to help, down the road, and they're well worth a look right now if you're looking for a new set of waders, for sure.
Yeah, cool. So these are our 4 products for this episode. We will definitely be doing this again, because we are constantly testing new stuff. We're constantly pushing. Hopefully these help you catch some more fish this season, or at least make it comfortable while you're not catching fish. But hopefully they help you catch more fish, make more enjoyment. And honestly, if you've got some recommendations for products that you think we should be testing or should be aware of, send us a message. We aren't always the best about getting back to everybody, but know that we do read our messages. We keep track of them, and we're always looking for recommendations.
Yeah, and again, I'll be at ICAST this week, so hopefully I'll be coming back with some new ideas and new products to pass along. And if you happen to be there, look for me, and maybe we'll catch up on some of the gear in the podcast.
This has been a weekly edition of the Surfcast Podcast. You can find out more about the podcast at surfcastpodcast.com, or definitely check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, at the Surfcast Podcast.